Nobody expected this. Within a few hours, the internet exploded with one shocking headline: Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead. Major outlets started pushing alerts. Social media went wild. Political analysts began predicting the collapse of Iran's leadership structure. But then something strange happened. A different set of sources began whispering the exact opposite. Not only that he might be alive, but that the entire story could actually be a strategic deception. And if that's true, then what we are watching right now is not just breaking news, it's psychological warfare on a global scale. Because in war, information is sometimes more powerful than missiles. And the question everyone is asking right now is simple: is Ayatollah Khamenei really dead, or is the world being played? Let's start with what the public saw first. Reports began circulating that a major strike had targeted high-level leadership locations in Tehran. Within hours, rumors appeared claiming that the supreme leader had been killed. Large media organizations quickly picked up the story. Headlines spread across television networks, news feeds, and political channels. Analysts began discussing succession scenarios. Markets reacted. Governments started calculating what a post-Khamenei Iran might look like. For a moment, it seemed definitive. But the problem with breaking news in wartime is that speed often replaces certainty. And the deeper people looked, the more confusing the situation became. Some reports relied on unnamed officials. Others referenced intelligence leaks. And several claims were based on early battlefield assessments, none of which are always reliable during an active conflict. Within hours, new voices began pushing back. Officials close to Iranian leadership suggested the reports were premature or false. Some insiders claimed communication with senior leadership had not stopped. Then analysts began asking a different question: what if this was not confusion? What if it was intentional? Because historically, deception has always been a weapon of war. Armies have faked retreats, governments have spread misinformation, entire military campaigns have been built around misleading the enemy. And when it comes to strategic deception, Iran is not inexperienced. For decades, Iranian military doctrine has emphasized asymmetric strategy, the idea that a weaker power can defeat a stronger one by controlling information, timing, and perception. So imagine the scenario some analysts are now discussing. Iran allows reports to circulate that the supreme leader has been killed. The world reacts. Political leaders assume command structures are damaged. Opponents believe Iran is disorganized. Military planners start predicting confusion inside the country. But behind the scenes, leadership remains intact. Orders continue to flow. Missile launches, proxy movements, cyber operations, everything still coordinated. If that were true, it would be one of the most effective strategic feints in modern geopolitical history, because it would temporarily blind opponents to what is really happening. And that possibility is exactly why the story refuses to settle. Some intelligence watchers say there are signs of continued coordination that would be difficult without top-level approval. Certain military responses appeared organized, not chaotic. Regional allies of Iran continued operating in ways that suggested command lines were still functioning. These details have fueled speculation that the supreme leader could still be alive and directing strategy from a secure location. And remember, Iran has spent years preparing for exactly this kind of scenario. Underground command facilities, redundant communication networks, multiple layers of leadership protection. From their perspective, surviving decapitation attempts is not theoretical, it's planned for, which is why some observers think the death narrative could actually be serving Iran's interests. If adversaries believe leadership is gone, they may underestimate what comes next. But at the same time, other reports continue pointing the opposite direction. Several major international outlets say intelligence sources and regional confirmations indicate that the strike was successful. According to those reports, Khamenei did not survive. If those claims are correct, the consequences would be enormous, because the supreme leader is not just a political figure. He is the central authority of Iran's entire system. Military command, religious legitimacy, political power all converge in that role. Without him, the structure of Iranian leadership immediately enters a transition phase. The Assembly of Experts would eventually be responsible for choosing a successor. But transitions at that level are never simple. Internal factions emerge, power struggles intensify, external enemies watch closely, and in moments like that, even small uncertainties can trigger major geopolitical shifts. That's why governments around the world are being extremely cautious about declaring anything definitive, because if they are wrong, the consequences could be serious. Imagine announcing a leader's death and hours later that leader appears alive. The credibility damage alone would be massive, which is why many analysts now describe the situation as an information battlefield. On one side, reports claim confirmation of death. On the other side, signals suggest continuity of command. And between those two narratives sits the global audience trying to figure out what is real. Meanwhile, political reactions have been equally revealing. Some officials are already speaking about a new phase in Middle Eastern politics. Others are deliberately avoiding confirmation language. That hesitation tells you something important. When intelligence communities truly know something with certainty, governments tend to speak more clearly. But when they hesitate, it usually means the picture is still forming. Another factor complicating the story is the speed of modern information. Decades ago, news traveled slowly. Today, a rumor can circle the planet in seconds. Videos, posts, leaks, anonymous sources, all mixing together before verification can catch up. That environment creates the perfect conditions for strategic deception. And if this is a deception operation, it would be unfolding exactly how such operations are designed to work. Confusion first, contradiction second, clarity much later. Some military historians compare this situation to famous wartime misinformation campaigns. During World War II, entire fake armies were created to mislead enemies about invasion locations. Inflatable tanks, false radio traffic, controlled leaks. The goal was simple: make the opponent believe something that wasn't true long enough to change their decisions. Now imagine applying that concept to modern geopolitics. Instead of fake tanks, you manipulate information. Instead of radio signals, you influence global media cycles. And instead of misleading one army, you influence the entire world. If Iran wanted to create uncertainty about its leadership status, this is almost exactly how it would look. But again, there is another possibility. The reports of death might actually be correct, and what we are seeing now could simply be the normal fog of war. Early contradictions, conflicting intelligence, delayed confirmations. History shows that major events are often messy in the first hours. Even well-documented events initially appear unclear. So right now, the world is essentially watching two competing realities unfold at the same time. Reality one, the supreme leader was killed in a strike and Iran is entering a new political era. Reality two, the death story is a calculated misdirection while leadership continues operating in secret. Both scenarios are being discussed inside intelligence circles. Both have supporters, and until verifiable proof appears, neither can be completely dismissed. But here's the most important thing to understand. Whether Khamenei is alive or not, the information war itself is already shaping global perception. Financial markets react, governments adjust strategy, military readiness levels change, all because of a single unanswered question. That's the power of uncertainty. In geopolitics, sometimes not knowing is more destabilizing than the truth itself, which means the real story might not just be about one man. It might be about how modern conflicts are fought. Missiles on one side, narratives on the other. Because controlling the story can change the battlefield. And right now, the story is still evolving. Some sources insist the supreme leader is gone. Others quietly suggest he is still very much alive. Until undeniable evidence appears, the debate will continue. But one thing is certain: if this really was a strategic deception, it will be studied by military academies for decades. And if it wasn't, then the moment still marks one of the most significant turning points in modern Middle Eastern history. Either way, the world is watching closely, because somewhere behind the headlines, the truth is waiting to reveal itself. And when it does, it could change everything.